Hi everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and today I want to take a look at a different Easter egg dyeing kit. This rainbow color kit comes with liquid dyes instead of the dye tablets that we love so much. And I'm curious about how concentrated the color is in these liquid pouches. So I thought it would be fun to sort of use them as a hand painting tool today to see how much color coverage we get. But currently I am pre-soaking 100 grams of Knit Pick's Stroll fingering weight yarn in some plain tap water. And I am now going to add 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. The reason why I'm not adding more vinegar is that since this dye is not in tablet form, since these are liquid dyes, there is no sodium bicarbonate listed as an ingredient, which means that the dye colors are not basic. Now we need to add acid to the yarn so that way we can have the colors bind to the yarn. When you're doing acid dye techniques, you need a protein-based yarn, which we have in our 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon sock yarn. You need the dye. You need acid, which we just added in vinegar, and then you need heat. And those are the ingredients that you need to add the color. So I'm expecting that this kit will be just a lot like liquid food coloring, but we'll see, I guess, how much liquid is in each pouch and have some fun. But first, let's let the yarn soak in the acid solution for at least 20 minutes. Okay, so let's see what comes inside this rainbow liquid color kit. If I can open it up. Now I bought this, goodness, I think I bought this in either 2017 or 2016. So it is not brand new, but okay. There's not a lot in here. Except we have our liquid colors. So when you look at the kit, you would expect that there would be an orange, because it says, you know, we see the yellow, the green, the orange, which those ones look relatively pale, and then the brighter blues, the pink, and the purple. But if we look at the dyes that were included in the kit, we have a red, yellow, green, 2 blues, one they're calling more of an indigo, and a purple. And then we have a second red present in here. So there is nothing that seems to distinguish these 2 reds from one another. But I am curious to see how these drops will color our yarn. Whoops. There is not a lot of liquid in each of these packets, so I'm not expecting it to go far. But maybe we can get some cool splotches of intense color onto the yarn that we're going to try hand painting with these colors. These packets are actually really similar to, or exactly the same as what came in the marbling, the color swirl kit that was also from the same company. Let's go ahead and snip a tiny corner off of the first packet. You can see let's add some drips. So this red looks like a pretty vibrant red, but I will note that I think straight food coloring might not be as bright. I think it's a tad bit diluted from what just like straight food coloring might be. But you can also see that it did not go far. Ooh, it almost looks like my yarn has some kind of pox right now. Let's see if there's anything left in here. There's a few more drops. Eek. All right. Okay, so there goes our red. And okay, this is pretty fun actually. Now, I'm curious. Okay, there is not a lot of color on the other side. Since we have 2 reds, I am going to go ahead and flip this over. and I hope I don't regret doing this too soon, because I know that this is going to bring some color onto my work surface. But given that we have a lot of red in here, we may as well... Okay, I did not cut that enough. There we go. We might as well have the red be all over. Whoa, bubble! Yeah, so these reds do look pretty equivalent to me. I wonder if they would show up more pink on eggs. And since the yarn is damp, you can see that, you know, we're not really getting speckles here. We're getting some splotches. But I think once we add all of the colors on, this will be pretty fun. I could have done them in sections, but I decided since we're adding color straight on top, it'd be a little more fun to sort of go straight for it. Whoop. This time. Okay. There are our reds. And so now, I guess the decision that I have to make is what colors... Okay, I think maybe I'll do this. I'll do the blues next, and I'll do one on one side and one on the other. Okay, so this first blue is pretty dark. And I'm realizing that I might be going, yeah, too much. Okay, a little left. This is pretty fun, actually. Okay. There is our blue, and before we flip it, let's go ahead and do yellow on this side as well. Now I'm sort of expecting, ooh, the yellow seems to be a little bit thicker. I'm sort of expecting, I was expecting the yellow to look a little orange, but maybe it is a tiny bit orange-ish. Whoop. Ah! We got stuck! But so far, wow, I wonder if there's a lot less liquid in here with this yellow. Because I'm not feeling like I'm getting quite as many drops of color here. Right? Doesn't it feel that way? Well, there we go. Ha! Alright, we got some yellow to come out. And that's kind of part of the fun of this random coloring. But man, that blue is dark. So I guess maybe the red would be sort of a pink. Okay. Dabbing on some of that extra dye. And now, well, that's actually not so bad when we flip it over. I was expecting a lot more absence of color. Let's do the second blue. This is not really looking that much paler than the first one. Oh, maybe it is coming out a bit brighter. The color I'm most curious to see is the purple. Because I wonder if we'll see any breaking as it moves around. Get some little blue bips through the yarn. Oh, this is actually really, really fun. I am very, very curious, because the thing is that you could, not necessarily, but because of the two sides, there could be some asymmetry in the final yarn. Oh, come Come on. That is really, really, oh, there we go. Really slow. Yeah, the green is also reading really, really dark. I wonder how much these colors will spread out as we microwave this, and if they'll end up looking brighter or if they will stay this sort of like dark tone. Okay, and last we've got this purple, which maybe I should sort of move the yarns around a bit to give us some access to some other parts that may have seen a little less dye overall. Clearly when I'm touching things, I'm getting dye on my person. Okay. So I wonder, right now this is just looking pretty solidly purple. I am very, very curious to see whether I will notice any breaking in here. I mean, I think it depends a bit on the shade, but I think that it's also so concentrated that it's going to be harder to see. But is there any more? Yeah, the purple also doesn't seem to have as much liquid. Oh, there we go. How's that for a fun little random splotch of color yarn? Sometimes it's fun to just kind of go for it, go with the flow. I wonder if there's any extra color in any of these other ones. And it's like, let's see if I can do this without getting color. Oh, there's some more blue on my person. Another drop of red. It's kind of fun to be so random about this. Yeah, I think the colors are definitely spreading out a bit. I'm glad I went over this again. There's a little more color. Okay, I now need a plate and some plastic wrap so I can microwave this. Given the nature of this yarn, I'm not planning to just wrap it up in plastic wrap. I'm going to place this directly into a bowl. I'm now going to cover this. There we go. With some plastic wrap. This way, when I steam it in the microwave, the yarn won't really dry out. You know, they'll still be able to vent, but I'm gonna go microwave this on high for a total of 4 minutes in 2-minute increments. All right, after 4 minutes in the microwave, the yarn is very warm. So now I am gonna let this sit and cool completely before we wash it. However, if we look closely at some of the purple sections, we see some breaking. The yarn is still a little warm, but I'm feeling a bit impatient, and uh-oh. Let's look. Okay, I see a little color in my hands, and there's a little color at the bottom of the bowl. Tiny bit of color got on the faucet. So let's see what we get. And I'm gonna use, okay. Immediately, do you see what I see? Some color is coming out. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Let's see. Okay, we have two choices here. We can go for it and rinse out the color, or we could dip dye this and umph the color. And I'm leaning towards the second. I'm heating up some water, and I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3 of white vinegar. And once this is hot, we are gonna dip our yarn into this pot. I probably should have put gloves back on, but I'm not gonna worry about it. And, okay. Let's dip. So far, oh, maybe that's actually not so bad. I don't see actually too much color coming out. Maybe I overreacted. But nevertheless, the yarn is now in a pot, and okay, I do see some color spreading out. If you look over here, there's color on yarn that was previously white. So, I mean, I'm not seeing a lot. I'm moving this yarn around a fair amount. I'm not seeing a lot in the pot, but alright, I am going to let this sit in here like this and I'll reduce the heat, for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and take a peek. Let's not forget that this yarn definitely had already been heated and soaked in vinegar, so it had already been heated for 4 minutes. So a lot of the color has set, which is why we still see these bright splotches. But I think that there might have just been some spots that were overloaded with the amount of color, which is why we saw some bleeding, and now we are going to capture that bleeding on the yarn, which I think actually is going to make it even better than it was before. You guys have no idea how excited I am about this. I was sitting there wondering if I wanted to glaze or over dye this in some kind of way to give it a little bit more pop, because there were all these bright colors but also a lot of white, and I just wanted something else to bring in a little more dimension, and I think this did it. Surprisingly, that water is still clear, but you know, we have now added, you know, some additional color to it. So I think that I am going to now turn off the heat because it's been 5 minutes, and I am going to remove the yarn. Okay, I have a clean dish. I'm going to remove the yarn, let some of this water drain off. The only bummer about this is now I have to wait for the yarn to cool all over again before I can wash it. But I'm really excited because even with the colors bleeding, we still have deep green, blue, purple, red, and yellow sections. We just now have some all over paler colors as well. So, hee-hee! Alright, it is now time to wash this yarn for real. And I am so excited that I decided to give this a little more oomph and dye it, especially since I was sort of secretly considering over dyeing this anyway. So I'm going to add a little bit of clear dish soap to our wash and see if we have any color bleeding. And the answer is no. If there is any, it is now minimal. But I'm not surprised because the wash water was totally clear. And I think that I'll probably end up doing soap one more time, mainly because it still smells pretty strongly of vinegar. But the water is clear, and so I'm going to just, I think, do the soap one last time, rinse, and then hang up the yarn to dry. And I'll be back to show you the finished dry yarn. How fun is this yarn? Sometimes when you're doing a dyeing project, it is worth seeing what is happening in the situation and then running with it. And when all the colors didn't really set from the first wash, probably because the food coloring was so concentrated on the yarn, I decided to take advantage of this and submerge the yarn into a hot dye bath so that way we could capture some of this color that was bleeding off. Now, I could have just washed the yarn and had the white backdrop, but I think that having this sort of pastel blue and green as the backdrop for these rainbowed speckles is a lot of fun. In this yarn we have larger splotches of color, small specks of color, and I think that this would turn into some really sort of fun and delightful socks, a shawl, a cowl, so many things you can make with fingering weight yarn. I don't think I had ever tried adding concentrated food coloring directly to some yarn before. I think that this was the first time I had really tried that. And there's a few things that I want to note. One, you go through a lot more dye really quickly. There was a lot of white left behind originally. The second thing is that we had a lot of color bleeding, which is atypical for some of my experiments. And I think that even if I had more vinegar in place to begin with, that might not have helped because there was so much dye in some locations. Maybe there was just too much dye in some of the spots. I don't think that you need to get an Easter egg dyeing kit to sort of recreate this technique. You could do this with any liquid food coloring drops that you can find at your local supermarket, and that would probably be cheaper than dealing with a clearance kit, and the amount of dye that you have would probably also last longer. Now, one of the things that these pouches allowed me to do was to create some really teeny tiny drops, but maybe we should try this again using some of the liquid food coloring droppers. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dyepot Weekly. I think that it is a lot of fun to try out a new technique and to look at a slightly different way to apply color to yarn. And I really look forward to the beautiful colors that we will create next time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give the video a like and to subscribe to the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. If you are interested in supporting ChemKnits on a more personal level, check out the ChemKnits Patreon. You can find a link in the video description. Thank you so much for watching.